state-of-the-art live fitness bikes, and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
All right. Welcome back.
MisFitNation. MisFitNation. The MisFitNation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the MisFitNation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the MisFitNation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the MisFitNation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the MisFitNation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome to our Thursday after dinner show, coming to you from Indiana this week. Last week in North Carolina, this week in Indiana. Next week, who knows? Hopefully, I think I'll still be here in Indiana. But it's always great to be able to come on here and use this technology and be able to talk to great guests and and also communicate with our great followers and the Misfit Nation itself. We have an update from our Officer Down Memorial page. Officer Corporal Mohammed Saeed, we lost him July 21st, 2024. His killer was captured today, and his cuffs were placed on him as he was arrested. So it's a good day and a good news story in the world of our first responders. Our guest tonight is the founder and CEO of Two Rivers Partners, LLC, a consulting firm that prepares nonprofit, small, and mid-sized organizations for today's disruptive forces. She aligns businesses and workforce strategies focusing on leadership, culture, human capital, and change, resulting in purpose-driven, large-scale change. So without further ado, let's welcome Barbara Spitzer to the Misfit Nation show. Welcome, Barbara.
Hey, Rich, how are you? Good evening.
Doing great, doing great. We had a great chat in the green room, getting you technologically updated with everything here, and we're streaming to your audience too. So it's awesome to have them on here with us as well tonight.
Yeah.
So like I told you, I would only give a little bit about you because I like the guests to actually have that passion and talk about themselves a little more. So Barbara, if you don't mind, tell us a little more about you from as far back as you want to go to how we got here.
Yeah, Rich, thanks so much. I am calling in from New York City, although my life started in El Paso, Texas. My dad was in the Army. He retired after 20 years, Lieutenant Colonel, served in Vietnam, got a Legion of Merit, an Air Medal. And after he'd retired, he worked in defense contractor consulting companies. So I was born in Fort Bliss, Texas, and moved a lot, right? I think it's different nowadays. I don't think they move the families as often as we did. We moved every 6 months to 1 year. Lived in great places. We were in France and Germany when I was a little tyke. You live near Fort Campbell, Kentucky. My younger brother was born there. But we lived a lot in Texas, often going back whenever my father was shipped out somewhere. So he finally retired at the Pentagon when I was in the 6th grade, and we settled in Northern Virginia. So I went to college and high school in Virginia and grad school in New York, which is how I ended up in Manhattan. But growing up an Army brat, it was great. I think one thing I really got out of it was a tremendous amount of resilience. I can walk into any situation and pretty much find a way to fit in. But I think at the flip side of that, a fair bit of anxiety. You know, when you're always the new kid, you're walking in, you don't know anybody, and you are having to sort of learn the way they do things. And so it's kind of an interesting combination. You know, it's made me a very driven person. I work really hard. I get a lot of stuff done pretty fast. But anyway, so I went to grad school in New York and studied organizational psychology. And I just left a 35-year career in big consulting, most recently with Accenture. I see you've been with Booz. I've been with Accenture, EY over the years. And there I did human capital consulting. So now I left a year ago and I'm deep in a portfolio career. I don't know if you know that term, but I'm working pretty much more than full time, but not for one person. You know, I have my own business, and in that business, Two Rivers Partners, I didn't set out to do this, but it's what's come to me in the last year. I advise nonprofits, helped one with a growth strategy. I'm helping with a CEO transition. I did a board assessment for another, and I'm doing succession planning for another. And so I'm doing that, and I'm finding such joy in not implementing large technology systems, you know, and not helping corporations make even more money. I'm a capitalist. I'm okay with that. But I love the purpose-led nature of my work. The second part of my portfolio is I serve on 2 nonprofit boards. I'm the board chair of the U.S. Organization called, it's a global organization called Restless Development. I run the U.S. board. And we basically train youth how to lead in African countries, Asian countries, to really get after stuff that they care about, and it's boots on the ground, bottom up leadership, et cetera. And then I'm also on the board of the National Alliance of Mental Illness in New York City. And it is a nonprofit that gives free mental health care services peer to peer. And I'm a big believer. Everyone needs access to good mental health services. I serve on a private board, and I am going to be starting as an adjunct instructor at NYU this fall. So I got a lot going on. I also I have fun, family, fitness, and friends, and I'm a scuba diver and underwater photographer. So I travel all over the world.
Outstanding. I mean, you have like 2 hours left a week. You can do stuff. What do you think can fit in there?
Oh, I like to take naps, and I like to knock off early.
I
And
know.
I do.
I know when we were first scheduling this, that was one of your things. Said, can we do it earlier?
Yeah.
I'm on East Coast.
Bedtime is 9:30. I wake up at 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. But yeah.
Definitely a go-getter. And when you were saying that as an Army brat, you go into those situations. My daughter, she was born in the Army with me and she stayed strong. We didn't move every year or so. It was like every two years on average for a while, and then about 5 years for one. But I told her when she was in fourth grade or something like that, I said, look, you'll miss a lot of different schools. You go to different schools, you meet a lot of different kids, but when you go to high school, I'll do my best to keep you in one school.
Right on.
Of all the things I told her in her whole life, that was the only thing she remembered. So as she was a sophomore, I was getting stationed somewhere else. I was overseas when I got the orders. I was in Afghanistan, and I called and said we're moving to Maryland, and she's like, Dad, you said at this day, at this time, that I'll stay in one high school. So I became a geo bachelor for those last 2 years. I retired, and she graduated high school at the same time. So it was a pretty cool moment. So and
I love that.
she remembered that. And she is just like you, 100% driven and go get her right now.
Yeah. Good for her. Good for her. That those are the important years to be settled for sure. Yeah. You want to have friends. I mean, I've got lifelong friends from that point in my life, but not prior to 6th grade. I don't have any friends from then. Yeah. Nice.
Especially as much as you guys were moving, you said every 6 months to a year, especially during those years. Yeah, it was like as soon as your dad did a promotion or got a move in a position, you had to move too. So I'm sure it was a lot harder at that time without internet as well too.
Oh yeah. My mom, we had 4 kids, my brother, sister, all 1 year apart, 3 of us, boom, boom, boom. And then my younger brother came 3 years after me. And my mom was 23 when she had me, and I was her 3rd. So, good thing they were young.
Yes. Very good thing they were young. So you said you find joy in what you do now with their portfolio of things you do now. Nonprofits I've seen your eyes light up and the passion come out when you were talking about the nonprofit world. And when we were in the green room, you talked about you did some stuff with Wounded Warriors this week as well. And it kind of drained you a little bit being there because of your introverted style, but also probably because of how much stuff you were able to help them with. Tell us a little bit about how you helped them out.
Right. Yeah. So this is the National Organization on Disability, and it was founded by a Dartmouth graduate who had an accident on a swing in the river and landed wrong and became a quadriplegic. And he and his best buddies from Dartmouth founded NOD, National Organ on Disability. Christopher Reeve was a board chair. The chair emeritus is Governor Tom Ridge, the first Homeland Security, and the who's who of corporate America. And it's a wonderful, wonderful organization. And they really focus on getting people with disabilities employed. They did a Wounded Warriors Careers program years ago where they really helped soldiers returning from probably Afghan war at that time figure out how to, with disabilities, with injuries, and how to get into the workforce. So I was a part-time advisor for 2.5 years. And before I went back to Accenture to go back to the corporate world, I helped them build a professional services capability so they could really be good at advising corporations on how do you be more disability inclusive. You believe it or not, I mean, like, they don't really know how to do that. All the AI systems screen people out. So anyway, now that I'm on my own with Two Rivers, there's a CEO transition happening right now. So I helped the new CEO get her leadership team all stacking hands as one team. And then 2 weeks later, we did a 2-day session with everybody on the team, about 15 people. And I'm telling you, I got to tell you something. The people that work for the National Organ on Disability, they probably all have some sort of a disability they're living with, some visible, some not visible. And the passion that they bring to their work is just so moving, and we dealt with, how do you show up as your authentic self at work? How do you build trust and commitment toward a goal? And become a high performing team. And we really got into some really heavy stuff, and the CEO had the courage to say, gosh, when I get tired, I do this. You got to help me not do that, and the team said, oh, well, we're afraid to tell you, because we don't want to get, we don't want to upset you or, but she gave them permission. I just saw this like blossoming, of this team that is doing this amazing work. People with disabilities are the largest untapped workforce on the planet. They're either unemployed or underemployed. And it's just a travesty that corporations have not figured out how to get people with disabilities into the workforce. So that's that. I spent 2 days doing workshops and I'm exhausted, but I'm also just absolutely walking on cloud 9.
I can tell when you were introducing it how excited you were about it, and your eyes got bigger. You were a little more passionate about that. When you said you were in the corporate world for 35 years, it was like a sunken shoulder kind of look, but then you pumped up. I was like, there you go. That's she found her passion. She found her way. And that's sometimes you don't know when it's going to happen. It just happens. Did you have that feeling? I mean, I can see it in you, but did you see it in yourself when it happened?
Yeah, look, I loved my career. I worked for large firms. I was a partner for 23 years, doing big $50 million, $100 million deals. I loved it. It was great. But I was like this, I didn't have I didn't know my whole self, and now, I'm in my early 60s and I'm doing this work, and I did not set out, to serve nonprofits, but they're coming to me. I get calls, hey, and so now that's my business model. And so, and I give them a nonprofit rate because I want to be able to bring that level of skill and capability that you get with an Accenture to nonprofits who are doing such good work. So, yeah, it didn't really hit me. It just happened. And, also serving on the nonprofit boards as well and doing the work that I get to do there. Yeah. I mean, what the heck else am I going to do with the rest of my life if I'm not going to try to make this world a better place? It just is like a no-brainer. It's not about, my slogan is I'm marrying mission and money. I make enough money to fund my life, my beautiful life, and go traveling, and I get to help, and be part of the solution.
That's outstanding. And one of the places where the Misfit Nation winds up on is the New York City Podcast Network. And I'm sure this episode will get voted up since you mentioned New York City in the beginning. So if you get a chance, check out the New York City Podcast Network.
I will.
They're a great network, great bunch of other podcasters and fans of podcasts on there that are awesome humans and great people that really have helped my podcast grow.
That's amazing. That's great. I will check them out. Yeah.
In your, consulting or helping these businesses and nonprofits, leadership right now in our world is lacking from many angles. How do you kind of judge or assess leadership and make them see their better ways to do things and make them grow?
Yeah, very, very true. One of the other things I didn't mention that I do is I'm a guide for a company that has a program. It's called Aurora for emerging female leaders. And I met with my group today, and I'm helping them navigate, and it's a big box retailer, and that's a very hard world to work in. Well, we had a guest speaker, a senior leader, come and join us, and she was a former Marine, and she goes, I was in a war in Afghanistan. I'm also working in retail, and they're not that different, and it's really hard in that business. You just work so darn hard. You don't never have enough resources. The margins are so thin. But she was just amazing. I mean, what a leader she was. She ran a platoon. She was very young, and she just shared with the women about, how you build your confidence, and, you don't always have confidence. And she acknowledged how difficult it is, whether it was on the battlefield or in her organization now, and that how she just tells her team that, look, it's tough right now, and we're going to get through it. But we're going to get through it as a team. She didn't make platitudes or, just muscle through, just do your job. She really empathized with what people are feeling, which was exhaustion and burnout and all that stuff. So to me, I'm a huge believer in authentic leadership. And I've always been an authentic leader. If a person who is in a leadership position it can be their authentic selves. That goes a long way. Bringing joy and laughter to work, not making it so serious. Sure, if you're a brain surgeon and you're in the operating theater, sure, you're gonna be really serious, But I was a consultant, and yeah, like a system could break down and bad things can happen, as we just saw with the CrowdStrike thing. But you just can't take yourself too seriously. So I try to work with leaders to be self-aware, really know who you are when you're at your best and who you are when you're not regulating because you're tired. And when the dark side of your personality comes out, that it isn't, not that it's bad, it's just that you're tired, and being super self-aware and being able to acknowledge, hey, I'm not my best right now. And that's what happened. I'm sorry, and be able to apologize and be real. And then, set some good goals for your own development. Be a constant lifelong learner. Leadership is not what it used to be. I do youth leadership around the world, in very poor African and Asian countries, Nepal and Tanzania, Uganda. And these young kids in their 20s, adults in their 20s and 30s, are leading and trying to change the laws against child marriage and, rights for LGBTQ children in those societies, and feminism. And, so we just train them to believe, give them the skills to be a leader and to advocate for yourself, but then to believe in yourself. And boy, that's if corporate leaders and political leaders could have that youthful energy or just that mindset of malleability and flexibility and openness and not put up with itness, this is not, we will not stand for this, and rally the troops. I'm kind of going all over the place, but old school leadership is dead, and new leadership is here now. And if you happen to be a senior leader toward the latter part of your career, I just recommend that you learn how to adapt fast.
Adapt and overcome. And you have to adapt in this ever-changing world, I believe. Just like if you don't adapt, you're going to wind up out the door or doing something you don't want to do. When I first got out of the military, I took a complete year off and to refocus and try to find a job. It took me 365 days to find a job. Exactly. And I wound up with a nonprofit. The mission continues in St. Louis. So I went out there, I worked there, and the first day there, they said at 3:00, they said, it's tea time. I said, tea time? What is tea time? And everyone just ventured to this little couch sitting area. They had snacks, and we all sat down, and you kind of let everything out for the day. You just let it relax and talk about things and talk about anything other than work for the 30 minutes of tea time and relax. I said, I'd never heard of this. I said, I come from a life of the military where it's go, 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 go. There's no breaks. And now you're having tea time. Then the second thing I learned about was human capital and sweat equity. It was a nonprofit. So you learn these little nuances. And then when I seen that on yours about human capital, I said, I have to ask about human capital and have her explain it to the masses why that's the huge value in any organization to use the people you have and have human capital.
Yeah. Okay. That's my whole life, my whole career. I set a mission for myself when I was in my 20s that I'm dedicated to helping organizations be places where people can learn, grow, and be fulfilled. And that has always been my mission. There are very few businesses where their human capital, their people costs are not the most expensive cost. Maybe aerospace. I don't know, aerospace with all the incredible, machinery and whatnot. But the people costs are the largest expense. Unfortunately, the investment does not match that the cost. It typically, human capital. It's such a cold and harsh term, but it is really about the people. And when I was at Accenture, I was part of some really great research that we called Care to Do Better, and we started it before the pandemic, and we redid it during the pandemic. But it was really wanting to understand, what is it that people want from their employers, right? What do they want? And how can employers do better and care better for their people? We came up with the term net better off, that employers need to leave their people net better off than they were when they started working for you. And there's 6 domains. I hope I remember them all. It was a while ago, but there's obviously the financial pay me. There's the learning, teach me. There is sort of make me a better resume, like build my skills and let me build my portfolio. Then there's belonging, there's emotional and mental and physical health. And those were the domains that people said that they really wanted. Interestingly enough, though, when we surveyed CEOs and CHROs, they did not see those things as the most important. And so there was a disconnect, right? Boom. And so we came up with some sweet spot practices like listen to your people, social listening, make sure that you, train, you have adequate education and training opportunities, that you give people a flexible career path. It's not always just straight up. Sometimes it could be sideways. Oh, I want to go do cybersecurity. Can I just hop over there in a horizontal job and learn that new skill? So people, they said what they wanted. So human capital, people always think about human resources. My father, in his non-wartime bill, it was personnel, and so I kind of went into that business too. And, HR oftentimes gets a black eye, which I don't believe it deserves. But that is the function inside an organization that takes care of paying people, training people, hiring people, firing people, making sure that people have a great work environment and good leaders and managers. People don't leave companies because of anything, but because their manager, and that's the number one reason. And so human capital is really about creating a workplace where people can thrive and grow and be productive and have their skills utilized. There's nothing worse than working somewhere and your skills are not utilized. There's nothing more painful than that. And the younger generation, they're gig workers, they're portfolio careers. That's what they do. And if you're not using their skills, they're not going to stay, and talent is the key to success. If you don't have the right people, you will not make money.
Right.
So I don't know if I sum that up, but, it's a big, broad topic. But to me, it's about, tying your human capital to ROI and shareholder value and EBITDA and all of the financial metrics that boards and Wall Street measure companies on. Well, it's about culture and people. That's how you drive those metrics. Yes, technology matters. Yes, processes matter. But people almost matter more.
And
not almost, they do. You're a military guy. What if we didn't have troops,
First. People first, mission always. So, there it is. I was about to ask you about the culture and building a sustainable culture in business and the nonprofit world or anything you do in life, even here with the MisFitNation. We're a team of 3 to 5 people and trying to have a culture here that is welcoming and make everyone free to do what they want, free to express themselves. That's why we have a second show on Tuesday with the Tuesday crew. My brother and Jake host that. And I took a step back just to be the producer. Say, you guys this is your expression time. Do what you got to do. Interview the guests, find your guests. If I have to keep finding them, I'm going to get tired. So you guys do it. It's your show. Do your thing. But what have you seen as the biggest obstacles to building a great culture in any organization?
Yeah. Well, I didn't tell you one of my other roles is I'm an interim chief commercial officer for a data analytics culture company. We measure culture and we tie to operational performance and culture. You know what? It takes years to build a good culture and it takes seconds to destroy it. I worked for a company one time years ago that I love the culture so much. I loved working there. And then a bunch of stuff happened. The economy took a turn and leadership did not handle well, the downsizing process. And it just destroyed culture in an instant. And it took, I'd say, a good 5 years. I stayed to rebuild it. Wow. So, right. Culture are the norms, values, beliefs, and behaviors that are inherent, right? So what do we value? What matters to me? Do I see those values being lived? The norms are the things that we all sort of agree are okay and not okay, right? The beliefs are our assumptions about, what's going to happen if I make a mistake? What's going to happen if I do great? And then, behaviors is what I do. And so getting people to embrace norms, values, beliefs, and behaviors that set the culture that you need to service your customers, which are ultimate to making money and profit, or if you're a non-profit to having impact, enough assets and money to deliver programs. If you don't have the culture you need to service those customers and beneficiaries and stakeholders, it's going to break. So I have this notion that I'm working on, there's IQ and EQ, emotional intelligence and intellectual intelligence. I'm working on culture performance intelligence. I believe corporations need to have a culture intelligence. Like leaders just need to know, what's the impact of this decision on our culture? And is it going to break it? Is it going to mess it up? And are we, sustaining it? It's not an afterthought. It's a forethought. It's proactive. So I think a lot of executives sometimes pay attention to culture when things go bad instead of nurturing it. And when times are good and there's a lot of money, it's easy to have a great culture because you can pay bonuses and you can have a nice office and you can have fun things and you can have tea time.
Yeah.
But when things go bad, it's the short-term profit view of Wall Street, and oftentimes with some boards is, let's make money again. So culture is like it's like in a marriage, it's maintaining that bond in a marriage of respect.
Yep.
and avoiding resentment. And as soon as resentment sets in, hard to rebuild it.
Yep. It's hard to get out of that. Yes.
Yeah. So it's my thing. That's the most important thing. And
that's kind of when I left the nonprofit world and went to booze. Towards the tail end, we were going through this transition, getting rid of the position I was hired for in a nonprofit to go to a new position, to a new I guess, project for the nonprofit. And most of the people I worked with were let go besides myself.
Okay, wow.
And it was hard for me to sit there and still work and still feel welcome when I knew everyone else that was in my office was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I had the opportunity to jump ship, I jumped and sailed away and into the sunset. And I'm more than happy where I am now with booze and doing what I do.
Great company.
Yes. Amazing company. I love it.
It is. It really is. Yeah. Yeah. Every firm I work for, I love. My very first consulting project was with the U.S. Marine Corps.
Really?
I was a little analyst. It was a bit of I didn't understand the project, but we were basically doing work measurement study for air traffic control. I went to Kaneohe Bay and Hawaii and all these places, and clipboard. How long does it take you to bring a plane in? Sir. I don't know I didn't know anything. But it was great. And then my second client was the Air Force, where we helped them really consolidate, mental health services, family services, social actions. And that was a good project. That was very meaningful. So, yeah.
One of the comments in the chat just said, you can't push the employees just to make your bonus, which is a lot of what they see in their business.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Right on. You got to make them want to do the work toward the mission.
Right. And actually be passionate about the mission and not passionate about just to get a bonus.
Correct. Yeah.
Probably lose a lot if they're just working to get the bonus, and then they'll find a place where they're handed candy every day and get that bonus. So in a different world.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
So where do you see the nonprofit world going in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you think it's going to be a hard climb for a lot of nonprofits, or do you think they sustain and move forward?
It's been a rough go the last couple of years. During the pandemic, it was quite good. There was a lot of money flowing in. And now that we're in elections all around the world, frankly, and here in the U.S., the money is diverted elsewhere. So I think it's been a little bit of a struggle for nonprofits in the fundraising because they depend upon fundraising. I mean, that's how they make their money. However, having said that, I believe that the nonprofit world has such a significant role in society to play. And, there are some big, large institutional donors out there that just are doing such good things. And there's so much humility, about what nonprofits do. They don't tap their horn, they do their work. Right. And they go and they fundraise through grants, through giving. And they just want to be able to hire the right number of people to deliver against their mission. A lot of for-profit companies are, as we know, corporate social responsibility are doing a lot more in the nonprofit world and giving a lot of their profits back to the causes that matter. So listen, it's a huge world. I'm just learning about it. And I'm fascinated by this machine that is doing such good around the world. And we just got to make sure that we can keep that the money flowing and people giving. So I know in my will, I'm giving a big part of, I don't have children. So I plan to spend as much of it as I can, leave my nieces and nephews nothing, but also make sure that I'm giving back to the causes that I care about.
That's outstanding. And for me, I didn't know that there were so many nonprofits. I thought
Oh yeah.
nonprofit meant like the Red Cross or DAV or something like that. There's
Yeah.
only like a handful I knew of until I worked in a nonprofit and
Right.
seeing them writing those grants and who they were going against to try to gain those grants. I said, wow, there's so many. And it grows every year exponentially.
It does. It does. Yeah. Shouldn't be so hard. They are tax exempt, but there's so much competition for the dollar.
Right. So many different angles. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just last week, I was in Fort Liberty, which used to be Fort Bragg in North Carolina. And one of my former soldiers is there, and he just started a nonprofit called Warriors in Motion, where he keeps veterans on enduro racing. So 24 hours of racing in BMWs and drives them around the Rockingham racetrack there for 24 hours, or travels anywhere on the East Coast to do that, just to get them to do some adrenaline stuff, to get them outside of their head a little bit and breathe a little easier and stay with us a little longer. And I thought that was a great mission he started.
I love that so much. Wow. Yeah. The people that served our nation so valiantly need so much more, in my opinion, from us for, mental well-being, physical well-being. The My Net Better Off research I did certainly pertains to that cohort. I've done a lot of work in corporations with veterans, ERGs, and, helping them integrate into the corporate world.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we're thankful for people like you who are out there helping our brothers and sisters as they come out. And New York City has a huge veteran population. The greater New York area has a huge veteran population that a lot of people don't realize that are there because it's a city. So you don't think there's a lot of veterans, but there is a ton up there. The greater Northeast that's a big pocket of veterans that they look for things to do to either help other veterans or get some help themselves. And it's great to have people like you champion things like that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, because of my father, I'm so proud of my dad's service.
That's another passionate thing I can tell in your voice when you're talking about his service. That's awesome.
Yeah. He's buried in Arlington. His wife just passed away on Monday, sadly. And so she'll be joining him in Arlington Cemetery and is up there with him again, which is lovely. So yeah. God, being a proud daughter of a Army officer is just one of the most important things that I identify with in my life. I don't go around talking about it all the time, but it's very much in my heart and soul. And yeah, so I love our troops.
Outstanding. And back to your LLC now. I'm going to bring it back. How'd you come up with the name Two Rivers? Or what are there two rivers?
Everyone asked me. Okay, so in 2015, I needed a mental break. I was working for a big firm and I left and I launched my own business. And I walk along the Hudson River a lot just for exercise. And I happened to get down to the point of the tip of Manhattan and where the East River and Hudson River converge in New York Harbor. And I'm like, New York Harbor is one of the most powerful places on the planet. It's the seat of commerce, but it's also where all the people from all the world come into. And I believe people plus business equals performance. You cannot have any of those things without all three of them together. So I said, Two Rivers Partners. And that's how I came up with it. And it stuck. And so that's what it's about. It's again, my identity with New York. And I don't know if you've been in New York Harbor, but it is a really cool Statue of Liberty's in there. And it's just the World Trade Center. And, as I live down here near the 9/11 and happened. And, it's just, I don't know.
I grew up right across the river in Jersey City.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, you did. Oh, I love it. Yeah. Okay. So it.
I worked for the Statue of Liberty ferry for 2 years. Yeah.
My partner's father worked for the ferry as an engineer, mechanic.
I used to park cars for them. So
No. Oh my goodness. That's great. Yeah, he would ride on the ferry, with his dad
that's outstanding.
quite often. Yeah. Great. Wow.
See, small world.
Small world. Yeah.
If you could give advice to any of the Misfit Nation listeners who are starting nonprofits or have an actual LLC out there, what 3 things should they do daily to make their business or nonprofit strive and thrive?
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing is, tap your network. I think all of us have these amazing networks. When I left my job at Accenture, I tapped my network and I was blown away how many people I knew. So build and tap your network. Everybody wants to help you. Everybody. So, and then when you speak to someone, ask them for 3 other introductions. That's first. Second is, really get clear about who you are, what you want to do, your mission, and just be really dogmatic about not doing anything else. Be focused. And then lastly, start to build a brand, a personal brand and a corporate brand. I do a lot of podcasts. I write, I speak. And it's important. I have a voice. I have a lot to say, and so do you. And so get your word out there, get yourself out there, not because you want to be like a superstar rock star, but because you've got something to share.
Definitely. Outstanding. That's great advice right there. Tap your network. I tell people, like we were talking about when you're trying to get on LinkedIn earlier, if you're not linked in, you're linked out. I tell people.
It's true.
If you're not on there, you're linked out because there's so much on there. Like you said, if you know one person introduced me to 3 more, you're automatically introduced to 3 more just by me following you. I'll get 3 more people I can follow just off that, and we'll build that whole network. And somehow in there, we'll all be successful.
Absolutely, and have fun.
Yes, and have
fun.
I
love to laugh, and I love to have fun. It is so important.
That's something everyone needs to do. Have fun and smile. Smile every day. It's not that bad. You woke up today, so smile.
That's right. That's right. You're going to feel bad, but then you're going to feel good if you just put a smile on the face.
It doesn't take. It's the same amount of muscles to go either way. So make it a happy day.
So true.
And how does someone get in contact with you to maybe chat with you like I just did, or maybe get some advice on the business?
Yeah, well, find me on LinkedIn, Barbara Spitzer. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Please, connect with me. Send me a DM. My website is tworiverspartners.com, and I'm on Threads. I kind of play around on Threads. I'm on Instagram. You can find me on both of those places. Facebook is just for my friends and family, but I have a YouTube channel. So yeah, just Barbara Spitzer. There's a couple of us, but there's not that many of us. I think I'm the only blonde one that I've actually seen out there. So you can find me that way.
Differentiating factor, everyone. Blonde hair.
Yeah. Right.
Barbara, this has been great chatting with you for the last 40 so minutes. I learned a lot. I'm sure the audience learned a lot. I had a great time chatting with you. And I know when this comes out on audio, we'll get a lot more questions. So I look forward to those questions and sending them your way. Thank you for everything you do. And thank you for being that Army brat when you were growing up and watching your dad serve our great nation. And thank him posthumously for his services. Awesome to have him in your life.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. I listen to many of your shows, and they're really so, I don't know, there's a lot of heart in there.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Get some sleep.
You too. Thanks.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.